Oops, wrong way with the light. Excuse me. Let me switch this up. I think that's a little better. Okay, good morning. Today we are in Matthew chapter 13. Let me switch my glasses. Look at the more heavier ones, I guess you'd say. Ah, okay, Matthew 13. Now, this one's a little intense. A little bit. I've got nothing else. I'll tell you that right now. Nothing else. Okay. The same day went Jesus out of the house and sat by the seaside, and great multitudes were gathered together unto him, so that he went into a ship and sat, and the whole multitude stood on the shore. I was actually watching last night a documentary concerning David Koresh. David Koresh, who was a Seventh-day Adventist, by the way. So, story goes like this. It was a guy who started, and said, Seventh-day Adventists, Mormons, Latter-day Saints, whatever you want to call them. This guy started a branch or sect or denomination from the Seventh-day Adventists and called it the Branch Davidians. And so he died, and I guess his wife took over. And Koresh came in there, started messing with her. They kicked her out, and he became the lead. And I'm telling myself, I'm thinking, okay, let me see what this guy has to say, because everybody's talking about how his followers are talking about how he was a Messiah or represented it or knew the Bible. No, I've seen the people that talked easily manipulated, easily manipulated. And people aren't that hard to manipulate, I'll tell you. They really aren't. We as humans are easily manipulated. Okay. It's funny because he kept saying this. What if I was the Messiah? That tells you already right there. He's not. It's just amazing how easily people are, how gullible folks are, how, easily. Anyway, it blew my mind. I was like, oh my goodness, these, because when I was listening to it at the beginning, I thought, well, let me see what this guy has to say. Maybe he's saying, and he wasn't saying anything. He really wasn't. And I'm going to tell you right now, when Jesus talked about those that will come in his name, he was not talking about guys like that. Not in any way, shape, or form. Those guys are easy to spot. The Jim Joneses, the crazy guys, they're easy to spot. He's not talking about those guys. He's talking about those guys that are hard to spot, that are almost impossible to spot. When he talks about, let me switch this up real quick. When he talks about, when he talks about the deceivers, the ones that are tricky, he's talking about the ones that are hard to spot, almost impossible to spot. They're so counterfeit, you won't be able to spot them. Okay. The same day went Jesus out of the house and sat by the seaside. Great multitudes were gathered together unto him, so that he went into a ship and sat, and the whole multitude stood on the shore. And he spake many things unto them in parables, saying, Behold, a sower went forth to sow. And when he sowed, some seeds fell by the wayside, and the fowls came and devoured them up. Some fell upon stony places where they had not much earth, and forthwith they sprung up because they had no deepness of earth. And when the sun was up, they were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered away. Some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprung up and choked them, but others fell on good ground and brought forth fruit, some 100-fold, some 60-fold, some 30-fold. Who hath ears to hear, let him hear. And the disciples came and said unto him, Why speakest thou unto them in parables? He answered and said unto them, Because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them is not given. Now, most would take this and say, okay, well, he's talking specifically to these guys. So these guys, I know I got a bump on my face. Sorry. It's just there. I'll have it looked at later. Most would think that when Jesus says this, when he says, it is given to you, most would think that he is in fact saying, well, specifically you guys. No. But I'm going to tell you what it means right now. Right now, I'm going to tell you what it means. Okay? So, as he speaks and talks, okay, as he gives this rendition, okay, and you won't see this anywhere else. You will not see this anywhere else. Okay? You'll see how much they praise themselves, how much they talk about themselves, how much they lift up themselves. But you won't see this kind of stuff. Okay? So, the disciples hearing this, because it's a simple thing. It is. I tell a lot of people, and it's true. It's not my own idea. It's not me going, putting on a lab coat, getting little, I forgot what they call those little vials that they mix stuff in, busting out. It's not, it's just looking out there. But everything that allows us to continue to exist on the earth comes from the ground, period. It doesn't matter what it is. Plastic, soybean. Now they have other chemicals that they use, I'm finding, but still from the ground. Okay. The trees that give us oxygen, from the ground. The food that we eat, from the ground. The gold people find, from the ground. The oil that they pull out of the ground so that people can have big money, from the ground. Everything basically comes from the ground. We come from the ground. It's funny because they do put us back in the ground after we leave, after our soul or spirit departs from this body. Where do they put us? Back in the ground. Okay. So when he gives this example, it's something that happens every day. Let me read it again. I'm going to read it one more time just to say it. Okay. The same day went Jesus out of the house and sat by the seaside, and great multitudes were gathered together unto him, so that he went into a ship and sat, and the whole multitude stood on the shore. And he spake many things unto them in parables, saying, Behold, a sower went forth to sow. Someone who plants seeds, of course. And when he sowed, some seeds fell by the wayside, and the fowls came and devoured them up. Some fell upon stony places, where they had not much earth, and forthwith they sprung up, because they had no deepness of earth. And when the sun was up, they were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered away. Some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprung up and choked them. But for others fell into good ground and brought forth fruit, some 100-fold, some 60-fold, some 30-fold. Who hath ears to hear, let him hear. And when the disciples came and said unto him, Why speakest thou to them in parables? Why speakest thou to them in parables? Then he says this. He answered and said unto them, Because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given. So I thought about to myself. I said, hey, hold on a minute, guys. I said, hey, why is it it's given to them and not to them? Why is it that they get to hear it? This is the reason. Notice how they came to him to ask him about it. They didn't go off on their own, get a collection of people together and go, let's figure out what he's saying, because you'll never hit the mark. They went directly to him and said, hey, what do you mean by this? That's why it was given to them, because they went to him and asked him. That's it. Simple thing. Okay. It is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given. For whosoever hath, to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever hath not, from him shall be taken away even that he hath. Therefore speak I to them in parables, because they see and see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand. And in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah, which saith, By hearing you shall hear and shall not understand, and seeing you shall see and shall not perceive. For this people's heart is waxed gross, and their ears are dull of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest at any time they should see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and should understand with their hearts, and should be converted, and I should heal them. I'm in that category. I'll tell you that right now. I ain't going to separate myself. I'm not. I'm going to tell you. Closed eyes, dull of hearing, wax gross, all that. Okay? Only by the grace of God, only by the mercy of God do I sit here right now reading truth. That's it. Not because I decided, not because there's anything special about me, not because I finally came out of the muck and mire and decided I want to follow truth. No. Without his mercy, without his grace, I am dull of hearing. I shut my eyes. Because there's a lot of stuff I shut my eyes to. Stupid, but did. Okay. But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. For verily I say unto you that many prophets and righteous men have desired to see those things which you see and have not seen them, and to hear those things which you hear and have not heard them. True. Abraham wanted to see this. David wanted to see this. Solomon wanted to see this and never saw it. Straight up. I'll tell you that right now. Okay? Now, they saw some stuff. Don't get me wrong. They've seen some stuff. Okay? Anyway, we'll get into that later. Hear you, therefore, the parable of the sower. So he's going to tell us what it means right here. He's going to give us exactly what it means. He's not going to leave us in the dark. He's not going to leave no question marks. He's not. Okay? When anyone hears the word of the kingdom and understands it not, then cometh the wicked one and catches away that which was sown in his heart. This is he which receives seed by the wayside. Okay, so when anyone hears and doesn't understand, the person that's speaking, what is it their job to do? To explain it until they do understand. Nobody wants to take that time. It's like having children. I don't know how many times I told my kids, close the door, 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 close the door. I should have actually tallied it up to see how many times I did. I should have. Close the door. Probably been a million times. Eventually they catch on. Oh, wow. I get to close the door. And before you know it, it's shut without me saying a word. Okay. Repetition. What's the other one? Consistency. Repetition, consistent. Okay. If you notice, the sun rises and sets like it should. Repetition. The seasons occur like they should. Consistency. I was kind of amusing about how California had a big drought and now they're getting flooded. Feast or famine with Cali. Yeah. Now they're getting flooded. Flooded big time. Okay. So it's a person's job to continue to explain it when someone doesn't understand. But if you look at the allotted time that churches allow, between the time the guy gets behind the, or lady gets behind the pulpit to the time they stop, and all they do is rant and rave, rant and rave, rant and rave, rant and rave, rant and rave. You raise your hand, they're not going to answer you. Terrible. So that's the job of the person, is to explain it. If they don't explain it till the person understands, they're not doing their job. And it's not the person's fault that catches the seed from that. Keep throwing the seed, tire that bird out. Okay, watch this. This is he which, then cometh the wicked one and catches away that which was sown in his heart. This is he which receives seed by the wayside. But he that receives the seed into the stony places, the same is he that hears the word and anon with joy receives it. He loves it. He's like, yeah, this is good. Yet he hath not root in himself. Who's the root? Jesus. But dureth for a while. For when tribulation or persecution arises because of the word, by and by he is offended. Okay, watch this. So how does that take place? Well, there's that tool where you break the ground up, where you break the rocks up so the root can get deep. And that's the process we don't like. And again, the people that are supposedly pastors, teachers, leaders, all that junk, they're not doing their job. They're not turning that ground over. He also that receives seed among the thorns is he that hears the word, and the care of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word. And he becometh unfruitful. Wow. In other words, and that's what happens. That's exactly what happens. So the weeds gotta be pulled out, and nobody wants to do that job either. I'm telling you. It's not Four Seasons Class A hotels. It's not the greatest car rental. It's not first class jets. It's getting dirty, mucky, all that stuff. Okay. Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, I forgot about the good ground. Let me deal with that. But he that receives seed into the good ground is he that hears the word, understand it, which also bears fruit, and bringeth forth some 100-fold. But he that receives seed, and I asked God, I said, what is the good ground? Most of us would say, well, it's the part that fits perfect. You got this person ready to receive. Here comes the truth, and it's just a perfect match. No. I'm going to tell you what the good ground is right now. The good ground is the ground that's been tore up the most. It's the one that's been cultivated and broken. Break up your fallow ground. Turned upside down, if you will. That's the best ground. Now, if you look at your heart and see your heart being that done to it, ooh, that hurts. So that's the good ground. That's the best ground. Okay. Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, The kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. And that's so true. And I've gardened, so I know. And I'll tell you something. Having to garden, weeds will actually put their roots down, touch the weeds, touch the roots of what you're growing, and will mimic or look like what you're growing. You got to pull them out. Watch what he says here, though. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst not thou sow good seed in thy field? From whence then hath it tares? Notice how they spotted the tares. He said unto them, An enemy hath done this. The servants said unto him, Well, the servants said unto him, Will thou then that we go and gather them up? But he said, Nay, lest while you gather up the tares, you root up also the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. And in that time of the harvest, I will say to the reapers, Gather you together first the tares. Wow. Notice at the time of harvest, when everything's picked up, what are they grabbing first? The weeds. Bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, The kingdom of heaven is like to a grain of mustard seed, which a man took and sowed in his field, which indeed is the least of all seeds. But it is grown, it is the greatest among herbs, and becometh a tree, so that the birds of the air come and lodge in the branches thereof. Another parable spake he unto them, The kingdom of heaven is like unto leaven, which a woman took and hid in 3 measures of meal till the whole was leavened. I was shocked that he talked about leaven there, because he tells us to eat unleavened bread, not a rule, just during a certain season or certain feast or festival or celebration. Can't remember. I'm reading it in Deuteronomy. I'll check it out again later. All these things spake Jesus unto the multitudes in parables, and without a parable spake he not unto them, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophet, saying, I will open my mouth in parables. I will utter things that have been secret from the foundation of the world. Then Jesus sent the multitudes away and went into the house. And the disciples came unto him, saying, Declare unto us the parable of the tares of the field. He answered and said unto them, He that soweth the good seed is the Son of Man. Now notice he's going to give us specifically exactly what that meant. The field is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one. Keep that in mind. It's the world. You know, somebody revealed this to me a long time ago. And I didn't see it to be true, but right there that tells me it's true. But yeah, Satan made people. Sad but true. And they're here. So the field is the world. The field isn't the church. The field isn't a gathering. The field is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one. The enemy that sowed them is the devil. There's your sons of perdition right there. First inkling of the sons of perdition. Now, if you notice in a garden, in a field, both are vegetation. Both supply their, or have their nutrients supplied by the same ground. Both partake of the same sun. Both partake of the same oxygen. Both partake of the same rain. Yet one is a tare, one is wheat. That's the way it is. Watch what he tells us here. The good seed of the children of the kingdom, but the tares of the children of the wicked one. The enemy that sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world. There it is. The harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels. As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this world. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend them that do iniquity, and shall cast them into a furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Who hath ears to hear, let him hear. Now notice that. He says he's first going to take the tares out. He's going to take the evil out first. That's what it says there. I didn't read that. It says it right there. See that? Again, the kingdom is likened unto a treasure hid in a field, that which when a man hath found, he hideth, and for joy thereof goeth and selleth all that he has and buys that field. Again, he just keeps telling us this over and over again. Let me read it again. Again, the kingdom is likened unto a treasure hid in a field, the which when a man hath found, he hideth, and for joy thereof goeth and selleth all that he has and buys that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a merchantman seeking goodly pearls, who when he has found one pearl of great price, went and sold all that he had and bought it. Again, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a net that was cast into the sea and gathered of every kind, which when it was full, they drew to shore and sat down and gathered good into vessels, but cast the bad away. So shall be at the end of the world. The angels shall come forth and sever the wicked from among the just, and shall cast them into the furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Jesus said unto them, Have you understood all these things? They said unto him, Yea, Lord. Then said he unto them, Therefore every scribe which is instructed unto the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man that is a householder, which bringeth forth out of his treasure things new and old. And it came to pass, when he had finished these parables, he departed thence. And when he was coming to his own country, he taught them in their synagogues, insomuch that they were astonished, and said, Whence hath this man this wisdom and these mighty works? Hand in hand, folks. You might have the words, where's the mighty works? Come on, let's get down to it. See? That's why, well, anyway. Is not this the carpenter's son? Is not his mother called Mary, and his brethren James and Joseph and Simon and Judas? See, Mary and Joseph had other children. James, Joseph, Simon, and Judas. There you go. And his sisters, are they not here with us? More children, sisters. Yes, so to all you folks that follow the Catholic denomination, the Catholic teaching, Joseph and Mary had sexual intercourse, and Mary had other children with Joseph. Bam. Sorry. And Jesus said to them, Prophet is not without honor. And then, whence hath this man all these things? And they were offended at him. But Jesus said unto them, A prophet is not without honor, save in his own country and his own house. And he did not many mighty works there because of their unbelief. It's not that he couldn't, he just didn't. Okay, black. Don't cast your pearls before swine. Don't throw your good things to dogs. Okay. At that time, Herod the Tetrarch heard of the fame of Jesus, and said unto his servants, This is John the Baptist. He is risen from the dead. Now notice that. Notice that John the Baptist had such an impact on Herod that Herod actually believed that he rose from the dead. That's heavy duty. Therefore mighty works do show forth themselves in him. For Herod had laid hold on John and bound him and put him in prison for Herodias' sake, his brother Philip's wife. For John said unto him, It is not lawful for thee to have her. And when he would have put him to death, he feared the multitude, because they counted him as a prophet. But when Herod's birthday was kept, the daughter of Herodias danced before them and pleased Herod. Whereupon he promised with an oath to give her whatsoever she would ask. And she, being before instructed of her mother, said, Give me here John Baptist's head in a charger. And she, being before instructed of her mother, said, Give me here John Baptist as a charger. See, I questioned that. A long time I questioned that. I would say, well, John is, my man of God, mighty man of God. He's introducing the Messiah. Why would he have to have his head chopped off? Because this is the seriousness of the matter. There is only one head of the church, and that's Jesus Christ. Period. There's only one head of the church, and that's how serious it is. Because there's only one head. Okay. And the king was sorry. Nevertheless, for the oath's sake, and them which sat with him at meat, he commanded it to be given her. And he sent and beheaded John in prison. And his head was brought in a charger and given to the damsel. And she brought it to her mother. And his disciples came and took up the body and buried it and went and told Jesus. Now that's heavy duty. Imagine if somebody went and brought a head on a platter, if you will. Look, I got his head. Most of us. But see, this is where the elite comes into play. This is where the higher ups could care less about the rest. And that's the truth. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm not saying all of them, but a majority of them could care less about you. Shouldn't have been poor if you didn't want to be poor. Shouldn't have been born poor if you didn't. That's their idea. Straight up. And even in their own circles, they have poor rich people. Straight up. That's why they're always trying to outdo each other. When Jesus heard it, he departed thence by ship into a desert place apart. And when the people had heard thereof, they followed him on foot out of the cities. And Jesus went forth and saw a great multitude and was moved with compassion toward them, and he healed their sick. And when it was evening, his disciples came to him, saying, This is a desert place, and the time is now past. Send the multitude away, that we may go into the village and buy themselves, and that they may go into the village and buy themselves victuals. But Jesus said unto them, They need not depart, give you them to eat. Now that's heavy right there, folks. Because there's no resource. This doesn't fit into the category of logic. It doesn't fit in, and this is where a lot of people stump themselves. Because there's so much work to be done, yet people say, okay, I want to do this, but I can't because I don't have this. I don't have this. I don't have that. I don't have this. And I don't have that. This is what the disciples said to him. Let me read it again. And when he was eating, his disciples came to him. This is a desert place, and the time is now past. Send the multitude away that they may go into the village and buy themselves victuals. Push the problem somewhere else. Leave it on them. Leave it on them. But Jesus said unto them, They need not depart, give you them to eat. And they say unto him, We have here but 5 loaves and 2 fishes. I always tell people this. I believe that story because I remember my wife would take macaroni and tomato sauce and feed thousands. Well, a big family, if you will. He said, Bring them hither to me. And he commanded the multitude down on the grass. And they took the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, and looking up to heaven, he blessed and brake and gave the loaves to the disciples, and the disciples to the multitude, and they did all eat and were filled. And they took up the fragments that remained, 12 baskets full. And they that had eaten were above 5,000 men, besides women and children. Now I'm going to show you why this was possible. Okay? Again, he took care of the spirit part first. He fed them spiritually. So easily it was able to follow through in the physical. See? That's why it's so important to invest in the spirit. Because when we invest in the spirit, it automatically shows up in the physical. That's why seek you first the kingdom of God. Not put God first. Seek first. Seek only. Straight up. When we invest in that, automatically, remember, seek ye first the kingdom, and all these things shall be added unto you. It's add-ons. Anything that we obtain is add-ons. That's the way it is. Okay. And they that did eat all eat and were filled took up the fragments and remained. That remained 12 baskets full. And they had eaten for about 5,000 men, besides women and children. And straightway Jesus constrained his disciples to get into a ship and to go before him into the other side while he sent the multitudes away. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up into a mountain apart to pray. And when the evening was come, he was there alone. And he had to send them away, because who would you rather be with than him? Hello? Come on. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up to a mountain apart to pray. And when the evening was come, he was there alone. But the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with the waves, for the wind was contrary. And in the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went unto them walking on the sea. People always told me that. People always told me that. You'll never be perfect till you walk on water. That's a lie. That is not true. I'll tell you that right now. Walking on water does not make someone perfect. Shortcut for him. I remember I wrote this song. I got to finish it. I'm going to finish it hopefully today. But the chorus goes like this. Can I ever walk on water just like Peter did when he took Jesus's hand? Will I ever walk on water? Not until I first learn to walk on land. Okay. Got that song. Jeez, when did I get that song? Last century. Okay. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, It is a spirit, and they cried out for fear. But straightway Jesus spake unto them, saying, Be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. Peter answered and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on the water. And he said, Come. And when Peter came down out of the ship, when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. But when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried, saying, Lord, save me. Now this is odd. This is odd. Okay? This is odd because you figure Peter is a fisherman. Chances are, in his profession, in his history, he was in the water from time to time. Think about it, folks. He might have fell in a few times. Why is it that he's afraid now, even though he's been in the rough seas, even though he's been in the ship, even though this is his profession, right? Why would he be afraid? You see what I'm saying? Let's look at what happened previous to this. But when he saw the wind boisterous, when he saw that, okay? And that's what happens, folks, around us. I remember I was in a speech class, and I didn't take a speech class to learn how to speak. I already knew how to speak. I was already speaking to crowds. People. Let me say it like that. Speaking to a group of people. Let me say it like that. I took the class for, it's another story. I went to college, another story. But I'm in this class, and everybody had their crosshairs set on me. Really. Which is okay. You know? And being in this class, you know, there was a group, at least 5 people that were just on me, being a minister. And here's what the teacher said. professor. When you graduate from high school to college, you're a professor because you're professing stuff. I guess. I don't know. Professor like on Gilligan's Island, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, the lady, the professor, who was against me as well, so I guess it was 6, she said to me, Charles, you don't know the forces that work around us. And I looked her straight in the eye. I said, you're absolutely right. But I do know the forces that work within me. And let me tell you something, the forces that work in me deal with the forces that work around me. She didn't know what to say. She said, that's true. That's so true. There you go. This is how much this lady liked me. She changed her whole lifestyle. She did. She ended up passing away, but she did. I didn't finish the class. Now, when you don't finish a college class, you're given nothing. She still gave me a C out of that class. The only one. Everybody else was no grade. She gave me a C. She goes, I'm going to give you a C, and I'm going to tell you why. I said, why? She goes, if you just stuck it out. I said, yeah, I know. I would have given you an A. Above an A, she said. You're good at what you do. Speech-wise. So, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Anyway, she was a homebody. She was enclosed in her house all the time. After she met me, after she listened to me for a minute, man, she went out and did some stuff. Joined the Democratic National Committee in North Dakota. All kinds of stuff. Truth. Anyway, let me get back to this. So he's afraid. He saw the wind. He saw what was going on around him. And he was afraid. And he started to sink. Lord, save me. Now, I like this part. This is the part I love. Lord, save me. Look what it says right after that, 31. Immediately. No pointing the finger of, why didn't you trust me? No condemnation, no any of that. Just immediately. Jesus stretched forth his hand, caught him, and said unto him, O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt? And when they were coming to the ship, the wind ceased. So let's say this. Jesus grabbed him. He got back on top of the water, and they both went into the boat on top of the water. Hello? Now, again, I'm going to show you why I know it doesn't take perfection to walk on water. Because right after that, what does Peter do? He denies Jesus. Hello? It's not anything to walk on water, people. I'm going to tell you that right now. Okay. Let me tell you something. It's not about walking on water. It's about walking in the Spirit. Those that are led by the Spirit of God, they are the sons of God, who walk not after the flesh. There is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Christ Jesus, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. You see now? That's simple. And what is walking in the Spirit? See? And when they were coming to the ship, the wind ceased. Then they that were in the ship came and worshipped him, saying, Of a truth, thou art the Son of God. And when they were gone over, they came into the land of Gennesaret. And when the men of that place had knowledge of him, they sent unto all that country round about, and brought unto him all that were diseased. And they besought him that he might only touch the hem of his garment. As many as they were touched were made perfectly whole. See how they followed suit with what that lady believed? She believed that. And now other people are doing it. We read that in the other, I believe it's 11 or 12, one of those two. Okay, we'll read 15. It's almost an hour. So there we go. Look at that. In 3 days, 2 days, 3 days, whatever. We're already in chapter 15 of Matthew. It's not hard to read the Bible, folks. Really not hard. Then came to Jesus Christ and Pharisees, which of Jerusalem, saying, why do thy disciples just transgress the tradition of the elders? Let me read it again. Why do thy disciples transgress the tradition of the elders? For they wash not their hands when they eat bread. But he answered and said unto them, why do you also transgress the commandment of God by your tradition? For God commanded, saying, honor thy father and mother. He that curses father or mother, let him die the death. But you say, whosoever shall say to his father or his mother, it is a gift, by whatsoever thou mightest be profited by me, and honor not his father, he shall be free. Thus you have made the commandment of God of none effect by your tradition. Now, a lady said this to me, and it's not true, but I'm going to tell you this. She said, see, you can disannul the word of God. No, you can't. No, you can't. Okay? Because there's another part that says, he that curses father or mother, let him die the death. That's what it says. Okay? But what they're saying here is that there was a role reverse. So when the parent became feeble and old, the child, in fact, became the parent. So the roles were reversed. That's what they said. That's not true. Okay, that's not true. Okay. You hypocrites, well did Isaiah prophesy of you, and saying, these people draw nigh unto me with their mouth, and honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. But in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. And he called the multitude and said unto them, hear and understand. Not that. Now, again, these are the ideas that they instituted within the realm of truth. This is what they did. So they would say you had to say a certain prayer, you had to sit a certain way, you had to use certain utensils, you had to have a certain attitude, all this junk that they said. Because if you don't, whatever goes in you will curse you and make you evil. So you have to do it the way we said it. Now, how many churches do you know that to be true about? Many have their little rules that put you in bondage. There are little rules that make you feel guilty. There are little rules that make you feel less than. Now, if you don't feel that way and you feel above that, well, that's no good either. Straight up. And so he tells them here, watch. He called the multitude and said unto them, hear and understand, not that which goeth into the mouth defiles a man, but that which cometh out of the mouth, that defiles a man. Then came his disciples and said unto him, knowest thou that the Pharisees were offended after they heard this saying? Well, he just totally destroyed their whole teaching. He totally took away everything they ever said about that junk. But he answered and said, every plant which my heavenly Father had not planted shall be rooted up. So if there's something in you that you got a teaching from man, the word of God is going to pull it out. It's the way it is. Let them alone. They be blind leaders of the blind, and if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into the ditch. Then answered Peter and said unto him, declare unto us the parable. Jesus said, are you also without understanding? Do you not understand whatsoever enter in at the mouth, go into the belly, and is cast out into the draught? So in other words, he says, in and out, in and out, in and out. There's nothing out there that can make you any dirtier than what you are. Period. Period. There's not a crowd. There's not a place. There's not an act. There's not a thought that can make you any worse than what you already are. How do I know this? If you die, what happens to your body? It corrupts, it stinks. That's the end result of us. Imagine how we smell while we're alive and acting like that. Hello. Are you also do you not understand that whatsoever enters into the mouth goeth into the belly, cast out and draught? But those things which proceed out of the mouth come from the heart, and they defile the man. For out of the heart proceed evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, fornication, thefts, false witness, blasphemies. Let's read that again. For out of the mouth, out of the heart proceed evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, fornications, thefts, false witness, blasphemies. These are the things which defile a man. But to eat with unwashed hands defiles not a man. So he totally destroyed their whole teaching. That's what the Word of God does. The Word of God destroys any teachings you have from man. Sorry. Then Jesus went thence and departed into the coast of Tyre and sat down. And behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the same coast and cried unto him, saying, Have mercy on me, O Lord, thou son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with the devil. But he answered her not a word. Now notice that. This lady comes to him. She's of Canaan. And she came to him, telling him this. And he didn't answer her. He did not answer her. And his disciples came and besought him, saying, Send her away, for she crieth after us. Notice that. She didn't say, sons of David. She said, son. They said, she cries after us. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Then came she and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. Again she comes back. I don't want to say she's not taking no for an answer, because he didn't say no. He did not say no. But he answered and said, It is not meet to take the children's bread and cast it to dogs. And she said, Truth, Lord, yet the dogs eat the crumbs which fall from their master's table. Then Jesus answered and said unto her, O woman, great is thy faith. Be it unto thee as thou wilt. And her daughter was made whole from that very hour. And Jesus departed from thence and came nigh unto the Sea of Galilee, and went up into a mountain and sat down there. And great multitudes came unto him, having with them those that were lame, blind, dumb, maimed, and many others, and cast them down at Jesus' feet, and he healed them. Insomuch that the multitude wondered when they saw the dumb to speak, the maimed to behold, the lame to walk, and the blind to see, and they glorified the God of Israel. Then Jesus called his disciples unto him and said, Oh my God. Have compassion. I have compassion on the multitude, because they continue now with me 3 days and have nothing to eat, and I will not send them away fasting, lest they faint in the way. And his disciples say unto him, Whence should we buy bread by so much? When should we have so much bread in the wilderness, so as to fill a great multitude? So 3 days these people aren't eating. And these disciples just witnessed the 5,000, and now they're questioning. See? And Jesus said unto them, How many loaves have you? And they said, 7, and a few little fishes. And he commanded them both to sit down on the ground. And he took the 7 loaves and the fishes, gave thanks, and brake them, and gave to his disciples. And they did eat, and were filled. And they took up the broken meat that was left, 7 baskets full. And they did eat were 4,000 men, besides women and children. And he sent away the multitude, took ship, and came into the coast of Magdala. We're in chapter 16 now. Notice that. I think there's only 28 here, so 8 more chapters left. Hello. Lickety split, right? Okay, anyway. I'll get over the other ones tonight. We'll be in chapter 16. Have a good day. God bless. We'll talk to you later.